Hey guys, it's Big Sexy with Big Sexy Outdoors. If you guys are looking for your bucks to be big and sexy like me, I recommend you go out and get yourself some Big Sexy by Domain. This product is filled with radish, turnips, and kale, and other vegetation to keep the deer coming back all season long. Go out to your local Tractor Supply and purchase some today. Big Sexy by Domain.
There we are.
Guys.
Hey.
That's what we have. We need to get more commercials, damn it.
Chris, where's your face at, man?
Too pretty to be seen.
Oh, it's one of them behind the scenes faces, huh?
Right? Ben,
I
you
was
need to
hoping you
change
would've
that
spit.
light bulb, dude.
I was hoping you would have spit at that. Or you ain't even looking, are you?
I seen you just go like this, Chris. I was a face. You paused for a minute, and that's what you look like.
Ben, you got to change that light bulb, dude.
I love that light bulb. Look how bright it is.
It's so bright we can't even. Well, you know what? Keep it. We can't even see you.
It's like I have an idea.
Pink.
Yeah, it's like I have an idea all of a
It
sudden.
almost looks like a Canadian wildfire.
It's like, hey.
How about this? A computer. Turntable pink.
Right? Nice. Yeah, my
Oh
buddy's
my
got those
God.
lights too.
Computer turntable white. Because pink was annoying.
There you go. Nice. Cat, get out of that box.
I said that for years, but she still lives here.
Oh, man. Yeah, mine's just chilling in a box over here. It's just doing its thing.
Yeah, I have to agree. That light bulb is pretty bright. I changed my camera around hoping it worked, but it didn't fix anything.
Well, there's so much glare off them Coke bottle glasses of yours there. It's like beaming us like Xavier.
Well, I only wear them so I can shoot 450 yards.
You
I was
couldn't
saying, we're
shoot.
gonna
You couldn't shoot
Yeah,
50
man.
yards 4 times. Come on now.
I got to shoot 450 yards and kill deer and then, not put it on camera for proof.
I got it on camera for you. I sent you pictures.
Anybody can pick up a roadkill.
Not roadkill with a bullet in it.
I seen pieces of grill in it.
No, you didn't. You might have seen pieces on my grill.
There was truck grill pieces in it.
Oh, stop.
450 yards is what it fell after you hit it.
You'd have to be going pretty good at a pretty good clip to hit
I don't
one
think
down.
there's a clip in the world you could have hit it to go for. If we're being honest, to go 450 yards.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to just keep on and leave it right on the front end.
Yeah, that would be one heck of a clip. Let's be real.
So I used to have this old Ford F-150. It was a 92, and I welded this huge ranch hand style bumper on the front. A friend of mine worked for the railroad, right? So he had 5-gallon pails of old railroad spikes. And he's like, what'd be really cool is if we welded them all the way around. It was like something from Mad Max, And it stuck out there. And I actually did hit a deer with that one time, and it was dead instantly. And it stayed on the front of my truck, just right on that bad boy.
Just stuck there.
Yep. Until we pulled over and put it on the flatbed and brought her on home.
Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah.
All right, Brandon, tonight you're going to tell us your story about bluing rifles or guns. So we're excited to hear that. Before we get started, though, we got to spin the wheel.
Let's do it.
We agreed we're not waiting anymore to spin the wheel because we do it at the end. So we're going to spin the wheel right now. I am going to do screen sharing. Give me 1 second. Chris, I might need you because I mess it up every single time.
Nope, you girls can fight, you girls can work. There you go.
Oh,
We'll put you two together,
at
you
you.
can love it out.
Oh, we're good.
dude, we love it out. That's part of what we do. Anyway, got a list of stuff on here. I did add a new thing. I did add a tumbler that is a gun hunting tumbler.
That's cool.
Yeah, not the Batman.
So I added a gun hunting tumbler up here, and I want to add that Chris and I are going to come up with something to throw out there. We're going to give away a gun hunting game and a tumbler together. I have another one here, and we're going to give them away together. But I don't know what we're going to post up yet to get somebody to. Yeah, it's got to be something cool. We want it to be something cool, so we'll have to talk a little bit. I mean, not just Chris and I, but everybody.
I think do have before I forget. Okay, two things I need to say real fast before we spin this. One, please, somebody, dear God, win this trout hammock. Because look, if you don't win it tonight, I'm probably just going to take the sucker camping because it looks comfy as crap. Okay, it's been sitting there taunting me this whole time.
That's so funny.
How comfy is crap before we get started? How comfy?
Well, it depends on what kind and how deep. Okay.
Okay. All right. Fair.
Yeah. And the other thing is, I need advice, opinions, and help. I'm hoping I can count on people. But we'll get to that later.
Ooh, that's kind of like a cliffhanger there, Chris.
I know.
That's a serious cliffhanger.
Yeah, that was like a serious cliffhanger. That made me a little nervous.
That was my stripper name in high school. Was
Cliffhanger. I was thinking it was more of a serial killer name, you know?
Yeah, I'm not sure if cliffhanger is a good name for a stripper. All right, here we go.
Let's spin it.
Did you hit the spin?
Ben, that's you, buddy.
Yeah, I think he froze. Did I freeze for you?
Salmon flies.
Oh.
No, I didn't. I don't even know what the hell just happened there.
You see my screen?
Well, here, hold on. I think it's because we're having a real severe thunderstorm here where they're calling for tornadoes and everything. So I expect him and I myself to have really bad connection tonight. But we're going to do our best. And yes, somebody apparently won salmon flies. I don't know what salmon flies are, but somebody's going to win them.
They smell.
They are salmon flies tied by our very own Casting with Skip.
Cool.
I knew they were skips, but I didn't know how they were different from other flies.
They're bigger. They're a lot bigger. But here's the cool part: is salmon fishing is going to start happening in New York real soon. Within the next couple months, I'd say next 2 months, it'll really start happening. So that's exciting, right? So now let's see who on this wheel won salmon flies before we start tonight's show. Here we go. I was way off on that. Hold on.
I didn't even hear a drum roll.
Oh, it's a new one.
There we go.
Mike Nye, contact us for your salmon flies.
And it's really funny because wasn't Mike just in a video with Skip?
I think he was, to be honest with you, yes.
Yeah. So Mike could have just grabbed him from Skip.
Yeah, right. Just go check on more.
I believe, and don't quote me, but I believe Mike Nye was just in a video I seen. So that is super exciting.
It's awesome.
I could swear he was. I mean, hey, Ben, would you mind hitting the remove? Barnesy.
I thought I did. Hold on.
No, it still says add to stream. Yeah, that saves resources for me. That's all.
I'm trying here, Chris. It won't let me remove it.
You make me want to drink. There you go.
All right, so anybody wasn't paying attention. Mike, I see there's more viewers on. Mike Nye just won salmon flies. All right, so we got to make sure. I can't see anything Dave Barnes typed. So there it is. Hey, here we go. Goodwill Hunter. All right, so Mike Nye, get a hold of BSO.
Yeah, just call Skip or something. We'll get it.
Yeah, I have them. They're in my hand now. So if you want to see them, we can even put them up here.
Also, you may have noticed, okay, during the intro, I don't know how closely you watched it, that there was something missing from the intro. That would be one Jazz Veer. He said he wanted to take a step back for a while and focus more on Browtime and what he has going, which is all cool. He's going to come on every once in a while. He said he's more than welcome.
Yep.
But I just wanted people to know so that we didn't just kick him in the junk and then throw him out. It was he wanted to step back for a little bit because a weekly commitment was a bit much for him. So, which
Absolutely.
is cool. Hope you start checking it out yet. And
Absolutely.
I agree, Chris. We respect Jasper a lot. He's a good guy, a great Christian. He needed time, and we're giving it to him, and we appreciate the time he spent on the show. And from here, we're going to move forward.
We're going to start seeing other people.
I don't know if you guys seen this, but we have a Goodwill Hunter. Everybody see Goodwill Hunter in the comments? I've never seen that name up here before. Everybody see that?
Yeah, I never put that. Yeah, I had that one up for like 20 minutes.
I just seen it, so that's awesome.
Yep. I like the name,
5
too.
viewers. We're at 5 right now. We usually end up like 12, 15 at some point while we're live, and then they watch them later. But Mike Nye, you won trout, salmon flies. Get a hold of us if you're watching.
Yep. All right,
now, tonight's show, Chris, tell us about it.
So, Brandon got me addicted on something. Because I'm serious.
Pain pills.
Sorry, guys.
I had them here.
West Virginia mating call right there.
Yeah, baby.
Oh man.
Ben is actually going to be displaying his banana hammock, but it's more of a minnow than a trout.
Oh man.
But anyway,
small
so Brandon, Bigfoot here, Sasquatch himself was showing about how he was rebluing guns, right? And this sucker got me addicted onto these shows where they find the old guns. Literally, they find them in the river and creeks and stuff. And they take them from they take them from that pure rust state back into new. Now I don't know how to do it. I'm absolutely retarded when it comes to that. But I figured we could have someone who's actually doing it, and that's why I put the picture of your gun in there in the title thing. So to explain how you do this step by step, like when you get it to when you're like, boom, it's done.
Yeah. I guess so. I'm not as hardcore with it as like guys finding crap in rivers. Like, I don't get that crazy with it. I've restored a couple really old original buck and case knives also that were in like more of that rough state where you got to peel handles and things.
Hold off on the knives because I have a buddy of mine named Dave Gang. He's a knife collector, sharpener, and he has people that make these phenomenal knives. We're gonna hold on to the knife stuff for him. Cool?
Yeah, that's fine, man.
Beauty.
So I was just saying, like the really rough state of like pulling something out of a river. The furthest I've gone on that was with knives. So I have an addiction to buying shotguns. Like it's bad. I know it's bad. My wife knows it's bad. Everybody around me knows it's bad. And I love old shotguns. And it's really funny because me and my buddy Eric kind of switched places. I was very much so a modern shotgun lover, just like, running stuff. And then it hit me a couple of years ago that I love vintage shotguns. I'm talking guns that are 100 years old plus. And so it's hit me that I really like them, and I like the nostalgia factor of being afield with them, having them shoot. Yeah, none of my stuff looks like that. Like I can't even take credit like that. But I'll buy banged up vintage shotguns for cheap. Like Gunbroker has them, depending on what models. Like so, there's some shotguns, especially pump guns, that are very, very well known as trench guns for like World War I, World War II, things like that. Those guns are going to be expensive. So you might get on Gunbroker and type in, the Winchester 1897, and you see one on there for $150, and you're like, oh, that's a pretty good deal. We can buy that one. And then you see the next one, and it's $2,600, and you're like, well, wait a second, why is this one $150? This one. It's not that the $150 gun is a pile. It's that the other one is World War era, had been through the trenches. It's like buying an M1 Grand, things like that, or an SKS things. So I like to buy really cool old humpback shotguns. So the receiver's got the squared off edge instead of the rounded one that we're really used to. Very Browning A5, Remington Model 11, Model 30A Ward's Western Fields. And I love 16 gauges. I have this weird, I'm affixed on 16 gauges. I cannot help myself. Like if I see one that's cheap, I don't even care if it's nice. I have to buy it. Like I have to. I can't not. It haunts me at night if I don't buy it, and I end up buying it the next day. So I have a pile of 16 gauges. Ammo's hard to find, whatever. So when I get those guns, first thing I do is go shoot them. Like we'll take them out. We'll go try and run them. I don't care how dirty, as long as they work like somewhat, the actions somewhat work within reasonable doubt. Like if the stocks are all busted to crap and everything, I'll tape them up maybe and shoot them, or whatever. If they look like they'll fire, we take them out in the field and we go try and fire them. All right. And then I have a baseline of where to start from.
Mm-hmm.
What do we got here? Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So I have a baseline of where to start from. All the safeties are different on some of them older guns. A lot of the ejectors are a little different. There's a lot of screwed in moving parts on those old guns. So things are pinned, things are screwed. When you pull actions and receivers and bolts and trigger groups and everything, and you start pulling them apart, I have a magnetic tray that all of those parts go into. And the reason they go in there is because you don't want to lose one of those pins.
Oh,
because now you got to go hunting for it. And if you've got hardwood floor with cracks in it, anything like that, you're screwed. You're screwed.
Brandon, you got one ripped apart there with you?
I have one upstairs that's somewhat ripped apart. Yeah, I can run up and grab it here in a minute.
Just say,
Sure.
can you drag your phone with you to kind of show people what your process is?
I'm on the computer right now. Tell you what, you guys talk for a few minutes, and I'll go upstairs and grab parts.
Gotcha.
All right.
Okay. All right.
So yeah, the reason I asked him about doing this tonight was because, I'm always looking for cool business ideas, right?
Absolutely.
I wanted to know how what kind of you need a license to do this, to restore them, and if you were going to resell them, or can you get the old guns, restore them, and then resell them, but still take it to like a gun store to do the transfer?
That's it right there.
Hey, if you can do it that way and you don't want to get your FFL, that's a cheap way to do a side business kind of a thing.
Now, here's the thing, though. If you pull that gun out of the creek and it has no serial numbers, no nothing, when you're done, that you cannot – that's it. That's done. It's yours. You can't do anything with it.
I was going to bring that up because I've seen a lot of those, and I like, like I said, I like watching those shows that where after they pull it up, it is so pitted that personally I wouldn't trust fire in it, but they fire them if they can, but a lot of them do have the serial numbers so worn down that you can't even see them.
Yeah, you're bound by that gun once that happens. Serial numbers are everything in this day and age.
That would still be fun. I'd still like to get one restored.
Now the cool part, Chris, is like long rifles and stuff in PA, you can just go transfer them. You don't have to. Matter of fact, I can sell you a rifle or shotgun and it never has to be transferred. If
Really?
I sell, just a bill of sale proving I sold it to you. Now, the pistols or handguns, that is an immediate transfer over counter.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's why they can sell rifles and shotguns at like a farmer's market.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Well, see, that's something I learned today.
Yeah.
I'm hoping somebody else learned something today too from it.
All right.
Now, can we blow Brandon's screen up a little bigger for everybody so it's you and I are watching
I can blow them up. Yep.
Blow it up, buddy.
Just if he's going to pull parts out and stuff, this way we can.
Yeah.
All right. So this gun right here is a Remington Model 11. So it is one of the very first John Browning designed semi-automatic. It is the first semi-automatic shotgun ever created. It is an A5 clone. There's a whole bunch of stuff. There's a lot of history on this gun.
New subscriber. Sorry.
Oh, nice. So what happens is this gun was in decent shape, but it was a little rough. So here's my barrel, and yeah, go ahead, Chris.
What is your limit to where you're like, even if it's a 16 gauge, and I know you have a crack addiction to heroin for them.
Oh yeah, I do love it.
What is your limit to say I won't buy that one? A bent barrel?
No, barrels are cheap. Barrels are cheap, man. As long if you can find the barrels, things are blown apart. Like I guess it falls back to price for me. Like if it's gonna cost me more to put in the gun than it's ever gonna be worth because I have so many of them, then it's not worth my time or the money. You know what I mean? Like I bought two Model 11s. One is in rougher shape, one is in a little better shape. The receivers are all beautiful. They just needed to be reblued and cleaned. The springs work, everything works. One's got a chopped barrel. And
I don't know what that means.
So literally somebody sawed off the barrel and welded like a freaking welded a bead on a 22-inch barrel or a 20-inch barrel to make it like a home defense style gun out of a 111-year-old shotgun that was made for the field. Like idiots. But I found a barrel for it, so we're good. And the barrel was $120. I paid $300 for both guns. So, you're starting to get into a little bit more money. The stock that I bought for this, because the front fore-end grip was cracked. These guns are known for cracking the fore-end grips. That fore-end alone was $170, so I'm already in it for more than the gun. But once it's completely restored, it's a $500, $600, $700 nice piece, that I'm going to go shoot. We have a vintage duck hunt every year. Me and my buddy Tyler bring out guns that are over 100 years old, and that's all we're allowed to run for the day. So it's pretty cool. And these guns I want to shoot this year. So there's not really, if I know I can get the parts, there's not really a limit for me on what I buy, right? Like it's just, I see it, I like it at the moment. The price is right, I buy it. It drives my wife insane, but it is what it is.
Tell her it's a short trip.
Oh God, it's been a short trip since I was about 5 years old. It's funny. Me and my dad went in the gun shop here recently when my mom was in the hospital, and we were killing time. And my dad walks in, and we're looking around. My dad goes, "Can I see that Derringer right there?" So he gets this little Derringer, and he picks it up and looks at it. And the price is right. It was a little 22 Derringer, about yay long.
Yeah.
He goes, "Yeah, I think I'll take that." And the guy's like, "Okay." So they start doing paperwork, and my dad's like, "I got this habit. Every time I walk in a gun shop, I got to buy something." And I'm like, "Oh, that's where I got it from."
Yeah.
I know. So, back to this gun. So this gun right now, here's the barrel. I have not touched this barrel at all. If you guys can see the scratches, and this barrel is actually browned. So browning is kind of the same process as cold bluing, but not quite. And it turns it into this brown deal. And it's got some shiny spots where I kind of started to buff on it just to see how it would buff up.
Okay.
And the rest of it is kind of, it's not really pitted, but it's rusty and it's browned. I want this barrel blued because I want it to match the receiver. So we're going to be going ahead and bluing it. So this is basically what the gun came to me as. The receiver was a little banged up, but I stripped. So this receiver has all sorts of stuff, and I have stripped this thing completely, and we have shined and re-blued the first setting on this. It's going to get blued one more time because I wanted the oil to seep into this gun because it was a little rough. And as you can see, I need to see how there's like a little difference in the coloring there. It's almost rainbowed somewhat. That I'm going to buff with very fine steel wool to get the bluing correct. This receiver soaked up the bluing a little bit different than others.
Okay. Is that an issue?
It's not an issue. This will blend. So what'll happen now is, so when I start this, let's go back a little bit here. When I start these, the first thing I do is completely strip everything. So this is a completely stripped receiver. There's nothing in it. Those pins belong to this receiver. They're already in there. Like, as you can see, there's no hole for that shelf. The This is my slide action on the back of this thing for recoil report. And then, so everything gets stripped out of this receiver, which then goes into my metal plate and then into a gallon Ziploc bag with what it is on there. Because I have a couple of them pulled apart at different times. So we've got springs. And from there, what I do is we take them out back and we brake clean the living crap out of them. We just brake clean them, and get all the crap that's in them out of them, brake clean all the parts. And then from there, I will degrease them. Yep.
When you say brake clean, do you mean use brake cleaner or?
Yep.
Okay. I just clarifying.
No, you're good. You're good. So I will. I'll take brake cleaner and I'll blow all the main crap out of it, because if you use degreaser first, and I know people do, if you use degreaser before you hit them with the brake cleaner, sometimes you get like this splatter of all the crap that was in there. And if you hit it wrong or whatever, you can get it in your eyes if you're not wearing eye safety protection. But I want to brake clean it and kind of dry all the oils out of it too first.
I find it, Brent, not to interrupt you, but I found it gives a film too. If if you degrease too soon, before taking that, I use like an alcohol. It's not alcohol, but it's dry.
I get So
and you get a film if you do that first.
Exactly, you get this weird film on it. Yes, Chris.
I say, like, can that come off, or is that you got to start your process?
Yeah, no, you can. That can come off. That's this is just the cleaning stripping process at this point. And then from there, I'll start with going in the internals of the receiver and the parts with like a little brass brush and some cleaner, and just start cleaning things. And I just basically want to get it as clean as possible to begin with.
Do you guys ever take it to bare metal? Or
Go that far? Oh yeah. Yep.
Really?
Yeah. So basically, from there, I take all receivers that I'm going to completely redo get stripped to bare metal, completely.
Sorry, I should shut up.
No, you're good. You're good. That's a good question.
No, questions are how you learn, Chris. That's how other people learn as well.
Yep.
Plus, I figure if I'm asking them, somebody in there, if they're afraid to ask, then we got it covered.
I've done it before, so I'm kind of learning Brandon's method and seeing if it matches what I've done. But more than that, you're new to it, so it really makes your questions at a more level than mine. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd love to get into it and learn it.
Yeah. Well, when you come up here, we can strip one down. I got 3 or 4 of them need to get done. So from there, we've gone through degreasing. We've gone through all that. We're now using a small brass brush to clean it out. It's going to get brake cleaner again to blow everything out of it, compressed air, whatever we got. And then a toothbrush. Then I start going through with a toothbrush, cleaning it all up. And then this is where I probably am going to differ big time from you, Ben, if you've done this. Depending on how pitted the gun is. If the gun is quite pitted, first thing I'm going to do is hit it with a wire wheel. A big spinning wire wheel. Not on a 4.5-inch angle grinder. Mine is set up on a motor with a light wire wheel on it. And I'm just going to try and blend those pits. Like, just try and get them to where they're nice. Because some of them, they become a rabbit hole. And you can get really, really bad after them. And then we got to bust out the TIG welder. If you crack through a receiver, I've done it before. I've blown through a receiver on a really pitted pump shotgun. And I actually TIG welded it back together and blended it with a hard high carbon rod. And it's held and it's been fine. So, but I go to a wire wheel. And then from the wire wheel, I move on to a buffing wheel.
So I use a Dremel, not to, but that's what I take a small Dremel
with a wire on it,
real fine. Yeah, either them little wire wheels. I don't want to know if you want to call it a wire wheel, but it's kind of like a wire wheel, or a really, really fine sandpaper.
Yeah,
and then just you know what I mean. Just kind of keep going over it. So, again, blend it. Blend it's the answer. You want to get rid of the pits.
You just want to make it look natural, a nice blend to it. Like I said, some pits get pretty crazy. If that thing was leaned up on something all the time and just rubbed on it for 50 years, an old truck hanger in the back or something. Like that's what I love about 100-year-old guns. They have stories. There's
I got a
something.
410 I need you to look at. Speaking of old guns, I got a 410 I need you to look at.
Yeah.
I had it in the shop. They said there's no parts for it. And
Okay.
that they don't make parts for it no more. And it'll take one shell. It's an old pump or an old bolt.
Yeah.
And it'll take one shell, but it won't move the other two.
Is it a tube feed or is it a clip feed?
That is tube feed.
Yeah, probably the mag, the spring.
I think it's the rod. Is what I think it is. I think it's the rod. To be honest with you.
Yeah, the spring that goes on the rod in there is probably just rusted tight, and it just.
They say no. They say it's in the action. The mechanism. But I disagree. If
And
you
let's-
watch after you shoot the first shot, the rod comes out that far, a little bit, and it's like it doesn't have that same pressure.
Yeah. Oh, we can take a look at it.
Sorry, that's off of subject.
No, you're good. You're good. Chris had something you wanted to
It's
say.
not really. It's not really off the subject. It's about taking that older gun and restoring it back to new, right?
Exactly.
There is something I wanted to ask. I wasn't sure if I should save it for later.
He's married. He's married. Don't do it.
Yeah. Yep.
You are notorious for beating the holy living crap out of your shotguns, taking them duck and goose hunting. Okay. I've taken mine out in the rain. Ben knows himself. We've had Mike Tyson out in there. Mike Tyson's what I call my black 6.5 because it knocks you down in one hit.
Nice.
And they started, you could see it. If I didn't wipe it down when I got home, you could see it start to get a little rust.
Yeah.
What's the point? Like, at which point, I should say, would you say, no, I'm stripping it down to bare and then redoing this all over again?
So you're saying for like your guns, for something newer?
For something, yeah.
So here's the problem with all the new technology we have with shotguns and stuff, right? I'm a pump gun guy. I love pump guns. I've always loved pump guns, but I do have my semi guns that I really like. But tried and true, the Remington 870, the old the newer Stoeger pumps are really good now that Beretta's making them things. Or Stoeger and Beretta are together. The H&R partner, it's a Chinese 870 is what it is, and it's a damn good gun. There's plenty of good ones out there, right? But with all the new technology, they spend all their money on researching and making things easier, better, and they forfeit the finish on these guns to make them cheaper for the consumer. So like, you want to buy it like the Stevens 320 Field made by Steven Savage. That shotgun is a shooting machine, and it comes in at under $200, right? It's like $219. You can buy a completely black one. That thing shoots, it cycles, it's a great gun. The finish looks like Fisher Price put it on. It is no, I'm being serious. The gun is awesome. It's a copy of the Winchester 1300 pump, but the finish sucks. The Winchester SX4, in order to get that gun under $1,000 MSRP for the black model, they have to go and completely strip the. There's a Mossberg 500.
That's the one I want.
Yeah, Mossberg 500 is a decent gun. I'm not the world's biggest Mossberg fan. I just never have been. I think they're clunky. I think they're just a little crude, but they run. Like I'll give them that. They run, So I tend to oil the hell out of those guns like that.
Yeah.
That have a lot, and the finish is just sometimes terrible on them. And I have a couple that I might end up stripping down and just bluing them. But some of these things are now aluminum receivers, and I mean a lot of them are still steel, but there's some aluminum lightweight receivers, and I don't know how the bluing reacts to that or what's going on. The aluminum's not going to rust, but the matte black finish they put on it for you is just going to fade off of that damn thing. So yeah, if you can oil them down, I mean. A lot of guys will be pissy about it, but I use either Rem oil or WD-40. I'm a WD-40 guy. It's cheap, it's everywhere, and it just works. My buddies are into like all the crazy stuff, and you got to put this brand of oil on. I don't think it makes a shit worth of difference. It doesn't. but yeah, I will strip those things right down, and then I start to buff the hell out of these guns. Like I literally just sit there until I get a mirror image. I mean, we're at bare metal at this point. We're now creating a jeweler's rouge mirror finish, and the way I do that is I have a half horse. I have different horsepower motors, bench motors, like a bench grinder.
Okay.
On one side is a grinding expanding wheel, so I can grind metal off. The other side is my jeweler's rouge with a cotton wheel on it, a polishing wheel, and we use that to sharpen knife edges for the hoof knives. It gets a razor sharp mirror edge, and I use it for buffing stuff, basically everything down to mirror finish. And then from there, we now need to go acetone the grinding, the polishing finish off of it. We got to get all the oils, all the crap off of it completely, and I acetone it. I have learned in the few that I've done, I don't know, I think I've done 5 or 6 rebluings, like complete rebluings. Before I'd just do like touch up pieces. But I now like to just completely redo them because you can blend them and make them look really nice, make them look like they were factory. I find that I acetone them, let all the acetone dry, pull all the oils out of it, degrease it with whatever bluing material you're using. So, like I use the Birchwood Casey. Some people use different brands. Whatever that brand is, buy the exact same degreaser. I've found it makes a difference. I don't know why. I don't know how. I just know that it makes a difference. After I degrease it again, we then go in and they want you to rinse the degreaser off with lukewarm water for Birchwood Casey. Pull it out, let it dry, and then we start our cold bluing process, which is literally just taking your cold bluing stuff solution on there. I like the paste. Some people like the liquid, and just rubbing it in. And it's supposed to stay on for a certain amount of time, whatever it tells you on the back of the package. And then you rinse all the excess off and let it dry. Then you, like, this is the real part where people get really upset with the bluing deal because now they want it darker, right? So we got our first coat on there. Now they want it darker. So they just think that after they've rinsed it off and let it dry, they're going to hit it again with the bluing thing and it's just going to darken it right up. Well, that's not how it works. Anything you've moved in the air, anything like that, needs to be degreased again. You won't get rid of your bluing, but it needs to be degreased. So you then degrease again, and you degrease in between every bluing step that you take. So I've done some of them up. Like my dad wanted his 870 really, really dark. So I took that thing up to 7 coats. And we had to degrease in between every single coat. And if you do that, like I know it's so monotonous. It's like, oh, put the degreaser on, take the degreaser off, dry it, blue it, yeah, and just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It makes such a difference. And like you will be so frustrated at number 5 when you haven't degreased it and you just piss through all your Birchwood Casey bluing material. And you're like, what the hell's going on? Nothing's getting darker. Nothing's getting crazier. Like, oh, like why? And like, you can't get it to fade right. All this stuff, and you haven't degreased it. Like, whatever's on it, whether it be from your hands, from the water. Like, if you have treated water wherever you are, like we have treated water with chlorine in it, so I have to now degrease when I rinse it because like it's not fresh. You know, whatever. Like, in order to drink our water, we run it through a filtration system. Like a Brita deal. So that's pretty much it right there as far as the bluing goes. Now you can blue as much as you want. You can just keep going and overlapping until you get the color that you want.
Okay.
After that, the last one on the bluing, I rinse, degrease, rinse the degreaser, and then you oil and let sit. It has to sit for 24 hours after. It needs to sit in an oil wipe down for 24 hours.
So would you compare the bluing part almost like staining wood? You said it can get darker and darker, like building
Yep.
up.
Yeah, so you build it up as long as you follow the degreasing steps. The build up is very, very good. And there's certain parts within your gun that you don't want to blue. So this is not like it needs to be stripped all the way down. You can't just go and be like, I'm just gonna blue this unless you're doing touch-up bluing with like a little cotton swab or something, which you can do. But like if it's not like spray paint. You can't be like, well, if I just put some tape on the action, I can spray paint the whole damn thing. It doesn't work like that.
Because I saw people
Bluing gets real. If you like run, in my opinion, you can get a run in that stuff real easy. And if you get a run, it peels. It peels right off when it's hard.
Wow.
So it's funny you say that. I prefer the paste for that reason. I feel like I polish the paste into the molecules of the steel, and I've never had it chip off like that. Like, I know what you're talking about. I do. I've seen it happen to people. But I've never had that issue with the paste. I've never seen that. The one thing about the paste I can tell you that if I put it on a cloth and then start rather than put it on the receiver, and the reason being is you'll get like weird blotchy, and you got to do a lot of steel wool in between your degreasing and your bluing.
So I was gonna say, I saw them like literally take it and like submerge the whole thing for like 24 hours or something like that.
So they were probably hot bluing, which is so hot bluing is it's also known as like rust bluing. They have like a bath of like, I want to say it's salt water.
Yeah.
And then like hydrogen peroxide or something of that sort. I haven't really dove into that. I don't have the time for that. I don't have the area to do that.
Oh, yeah.
And the cold bluing's working for me. It takes a little longer. It's a little bit more, but hey. And then, when I use the paste, it seems to come out pretty good. I mean, this is my mag tube on that bad boy, and that darkened up and shined up pretty nice.
Mm-hmm.
That's after an oil bath. So, my lighting here is kind of bad. But yeah, shined up super nice. So you can see the shine on that versus the dull.
Yeah.
So I'm taking this gun back to classic off the Remington floor and headed out to the field.
Okay.
This is also a numbers matching gun, which is super cool, which means the barrel matches the receiver. Lots of them are not, because back then choke tubes were not a thing, right? So you bought a gun with a full choke, or you bought a gun with a modified choke or a cylinder choke.
Yeah, you bought a barrel to change your choke.
Exactly. So the fact that this gun is numbers matching makes it worth at least an extra $200-300, which is awesome to me. Not that I'm gonna sell it someday. It'll be a keepsake for my kids or grandkids or whatever, or even my nephews. Who knows? But yeah, this one's number matching. The other gun, unfortunately, is numbers matching also, but they chopped the barrel, so it's junk. Like, the barrel needs to go in the trash can. So I did find a barrel for it, and that's good. But yeah, and then I go through. So both of these guns were Sportsman Model 11s. So in the action and bolt itself, it says Sportsman on it, right?
Okay.
The Sportsman. I don't know if you guys can see that.
Yep.
Right. So if you look at that thing, that bad boy is shiny, like shiny. That thing is completely buffed and polished. There it is. And that's just my fingerprints that you see smudged on that thing, right?
Yeah.
So I love the contrast of this shiny to the bluing. Like I love that contrast. So I have decided that with this shotgun, I am going to leave the polished rouge on there, and it's going to sit just like so. So it's going to be that shined up, real nice action. And that's the way I'm going to end up leaving it.
That does look pretty sick like that. I like that.
With the polish rouge on here, even though it's cleaned up and oiled, I have found that if you polish it and buff it back to mirror image and then just put some oil on it, it doesn't rust. I don't know what's in the jeweler's rouge that we buff with, but it won't rust. So that's pretty cool. I've taken, the bottom of that thing was pretty pitted up and pretty gross. Actually, you can see right where the hell are we? Right here on the corner.
Yeah.
You see that little piece right there, right underneath my fingernail?
Yeah.
That's the last little bit of pitting in there just from wear on both sides. And I didn't want to take the bottom of this down anymore. So this ended up on a flat surface, perfectly level, with me just working my hand wet sanding it. And then I went ahead and polished it after. So everything ends up getting, stripped down really well. Like everything is completely cleaned up. I got a bag full of parts. My trigger assembly is all still together, so I can show you guys that. So this trigger assembly is all still together. All these pins need to get knocked out and pulled, and I need to go through all this. Yeah, oh yeah, all this is coming apart. Because I can't have it all put back together. It takes so long to take this gun apart because there's so many moving, screwed in pins, this, that, and the other. This is not a gun that you field strip. Like, this is not something that out in the field you pop 2 pins, drop your receiver, drop your trigger group and go. Like, this gun takes 25 minutes to pull it apart properly. So this whole thing right here is going to get completely pulled. Everything's going to get mirror image polished so that it's smooth. I already kind of started on the back there. You can see the difference. See how dull it is right there by the safety? Like right there. See how dull that is? And as I move my finger, you can start to see how I've started wire wheeling and then polishing. And, it's just a labor of love. Like, you just have to want to do this. And you can see how dull everything is in there. There's my serial number on the trigger group, which is also matching in the receiver and everything, which is super cool. And then this gun is inertia driven. So it's the very first. So it has stacked springs over the mag tube and crush washers, and the barrel actually moves in this gun when you shoot too. So the barrel comes down with the recoil. As the action opens, the barrel then pulls away. It spits it out the side. Action comes closed. It's a very heavy recoil style gun. That's just the Model 11. The original A5 Browning is the same identical gun. There's a few things that are a little different as far as like pins and screws, or pins versus screws in the receiver. But most of the parts are interchangeable.
Okay.
You could take, as long as you have the entire assembly for an A5 or a Remington Model 11, I could, as long as I have the charge handle and everything that bolts to this, the parts that go to the Remington, I could put that in an A5 and run it, or vice versa, as long as everything matched up internally. You could swap them around. These are both in 12 gauge. They were in 16 gauge. I probably would have ended up paying a little more money for them. Not because I love them, but because 16 gauges are a little bit harder to find.
Yeah.
And I love them. So, yes, then I would have went ahead and paid a little more for them. The 20 gauge in this model gun is not as nice because the recoil is not as hard. So they had some issues and failure to cycle, things like that. And a lot of people break these guns, actually, especially the Model 11 and the A5. They blow the stock out of them. They blow the fore end out of them. They crush these springs. The reason being is there's a washer, and you have to switch which end of the magazine tube the washer is on for different velocity and different ounce shot shells. So the heavier the shot shells, the washer needs to be at the bottom. And for the lighter, the shells, it needs to be at the top. And it has to do with the compression of the barrel and the spring as it runs. So a lot of people ended up collapsing these springs because they were too lazy to change it, or they cracked stocks because they were too lazy to change it, and they were running, super heavy loads through that shotgun with the washer in the wrong place for a lighter load, and just ended up destroying them.
Now, would you ever make your own custom stocks? Like, would you ever?
So it's funny you say that. I am actually in the process of making one for the other gun of this match set that I bought.
Okay.
You ever put decals or anything on them?
That was going to be my next. Yep.
As far as the new stuff or the old stuff?
Yeah, like when you're bluing them or refinishing them, whether it be the stocks or the barrels, you ever like put decals or anything on them?
Oh yeah.
Personalize them.
I get into that quite a bit with the newer guns. The old guns, I'm very much so the classic. Like I'm all about the classic, the wood look. I say that although I've stripped some wooden stocks that were crap off of guns and threw synthetic stocks on them because I liked them and I wanted to run them in the rain and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, my newer guns are a little wild. Like I've got some serious weird stickers on some of them. One of them says "for duck's sake" on the side. One of them says "the honker hammer." I've got the breast collector stickers up the sides. Like, gets a little wild.
Hey Benji.
Yeah.
What was it? What was that thing called you guys were talking about? Where, oh my God, forgive me. It puts like the picture all around it.
Hydro dipping.
Hydro dip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I couldn't remember.
Absolutely. So
is that part of this? Is that part of this?
So yes. So hydro dipping, you can do. The bluing has nothing to do with hydro dipping, right?
That's the stock and the pump.
Right.
And
Yeah. No, you're totally fine. You can hydro dip receivers, barrels, things like that. But, the bluing for me is very a vintage thing. Whatever the older guns that were supposed to have it, needed to have it to protect them, that's the thing, and they're going to get it for me. My newer guns, a lot of them are getting hydro dip, painted, Cerakoted, things like that. Or I just run them. Just straight up run them. Run them until they're totally smoked, and then we go ahead and rebuild them. And we've beaten up some serious shotguns before.
I know a guy who flex sealed one. You ever do that?
What is that?
So it's funny you say that. I actually just heard about somebody doing that today. And I was like, why the hell would anybody do that?
They say it takes such a beating in the weather as long as you don't get where the pumping. It's so Flex Seal, Chris, is a water resistant. Supposed to stop water. Like if you have a leak in your house, you can spray this on and it's supposed to stop the water instantly.
Yeah.
Really?
But it gets thick. But I heard that people are using it now to coat guns.
Yeah,
so it's like a woman.
I can
thick, not mean.
Yeah, both.
Yeah.
I could see where that Flex Seal stuff. So I don't know if you guys have used any of those products, the Flex Seal products, but the Flex Seal tape is an animal. Like that stuff. I'm telling you right now, if you got a hole in your boat, that's something gonna get you 40 miles back home. If you got some of that crap, you got some of that in a lighter where you can heat it up to stick a little bit better, and that stuff will stick, mister. To the point where you probably going to need a putty scraper and that lighter again to get it back off. It's amazing. So, yeah, so we have hydro dipped a few. Hydro dipping is its own thing. It's its own animal. Just as bluing is. Bluing is a little
up on that thing.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Bluing is a little more temperamental, I'd say. But you can screw up a hydro dip real fast too. But bluing, you can get back at it, and I'm gonna say bluing a shotgun or a rifle is a lot like fly fishing. It's a lot of labor of love, and the whole nine. Whereas, like, I know I can catch that son of a bitch with a spinning rod. So why not throw a spinner out there? Is kind of the Hydro Dip Cerakote way, I guess you'd say, or spray paint. Everything else to me is the spinner rod. So this is what I like to do with my shotguns and old guns. And
So how long does it take you guys to normally do one from beginning to end?
So I
It
can't.
depends. It depends
I
on
can't-
how bad it is.
Yeah. So one, it depends on how bad it is, because your stripping process might just be, could be an hour if it's a newer shotgun. Like my dad's Wingmaster, that thing's easy. You punch 2 pins, pull out the trigger guard or the trigger assembly, pull out the bolt. Everything was in good shape. Somebody just put a butcher spray paint job on it, and it was a really nice original Wingmaster. So why you do that, I have no idea. And so then, like, tear down on his gun only took 40 seconds for me to knock pins out and pull the trigger group and the bolt and everything out. Whereas tear down on this gun took me half an hour.
Okay.
And then from there, like, it took me longer to strip that gun because it was all painted. So I acetone stripped it first, wire wheeled it, acetoned it, then put it on the buffer, brought it to bare metal, and then went through the bluing process. That, and I'm doing this in my spare time, so I can't give you an accurate time on this. I mean, I can tell you the time I've got invested in some of the stuff, but
that was part of the question I asked for when you went upstairs to grab this. Would you see something like this as a viable business option?
I think it could be. I mean, I think we're losing gunsmiths. Like, I don't know about you guys. If you look, like, there's this stigma around guns that, like, if you do something to them yourself, that the thing's going to blow up in your face, right? Or, like, shit's going to fall apart. I thought that as a child myself too, but also I came from, like, a family of, they didn't pull trigger assemblies out to clean guns. They didn't pull bolts out. You literally ran a bore snake down the thing. It was a homemade bore snake of a baling twine, a nail, and a rag. I'm being serious. With some Hoppy's gun oil on it. And then after you got done, you sprayed it down with Rem oil and stuck it back in the cabinet. Like, I can't think of a time that my father ever pulled a trigger assembly out of a gun. And his guns always ran. I mean, they were old school pump guns, so they ran. But I feel like that we're losing gunsmiths, like really good gunsmiths, and people don't like to take things apart and look and see what makes the internals work anymore. We're in a very much so instant
it's a consumer society.
Yeah, instant gratification kind of crap right now, and I feel like this is very time consuming and very old. And the technology today, yes, my Winchester SX4 spits them out. That sucker will shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot, but there's no reason that this gun can't run just like it did when it was factory new. I mean, it ran good when I bought it. I busted them out of the truck when I got to my farm and threw shells in them, and we spit them out. You know what I mean? It worked fine. But they were just ugly. So just restoring them. I think for me, I don't want to turn it into a business. And the reason why I won't turn it into a business is because then I'm on a time restraint with people's crap. And, we wanted our shotgun back for our grandfather's 108th birthday pheasant hunt that, he couldn't even spell pheasant anymore. And, we want it done tomorrow, and they dropped it off yesterday. It's like, I'm good. Like, this gun's been pulled apart, and I've had it apart for 2 weeks now, and I'm just kind of slow rolling through it.
All right, I'm going to ask a question nobody else is going to ask.
Yeah.
Do you let your parts lay around that your wife yells at you that they're all laying around?
We're not going to talk about that, man.
I was married. That's why I asked. I wasn't being smart. I used to do the same stuff. Like, I'd rip it apart, be like, oh, I'm going to get that, honey. I'll be finished. And then 2 weeks would go by, and she'd be like, get this crap out of here.
Well, so I have rooms in the house that are mine, like, dedicated to my stuff. And she'll go through and be like, oh, well, we need to clean it, things like that. But, like,
so it's really not your room.
Well, hey, if she wants to clean it, I'm okay.
She's
with
still
it.
the boss. Let's face facts. It's
Oh,
really
no
not
doubt,
your role.
no doubt.
All right, at least you admit it.
Oh yeah, no, my wife is lovely. She might be the boss when we're together, but I get to do whatever the heck I want when we're not. I'll go buy
I do
shotguns.
see that. I do see that.
Yeah, I just go buy shotguns and go hunting and do whatever the hell I want.
Yeah, she don't have a tight leash. She just keeps you within range. That's all.
The
Pretty
good
much.
way.
She just keeps me close enough to the food bowl. You know what I mean? So she pulls the water away every once in a while, but hey, it's all good.
She got to keep you in check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty good about when I get done stripping everything. Everything goes in one of these bags after it's in the metal magnet deal. So everything goes back into one of these bags, and they get labeled. This one's got a label on a paper towel in there, just because that's what I had upstairs. All my springs, trigger assembly, things, all the small parts go in here, and then all the big parts go, with themselves. And I'm really good about organizing these things. It's like one of the few things in my life that I'm great about organizing. And she doesn't quite understand why that is, but it's because I don't want to lose parts, because these are 111-year-old parts that are not easy to find. And then I get the wrath of, oh, you just ordered some gun parts in, I see. I start shipping them to my parents' house.
That's when you say, no, Chris sent them.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of two things. Speaking of, you said to watch out for a package. I didn't know if that was a dirty thing, but I have never gotten a package.
All right, so the package. Listen, are you coming up to Goose Hunt or what?
Well, that was the plan for September, whatever the first weekend in September.
Yes.
Is the final red tag and some goose killing.
Yes. So is that the game plan still?
As to the best of my knowledge, that is my game plan.
All right, because that package is sitting there with a label on it, and it's almost ready to ship out. I had to find some stuff. There's some fragile parts in there.
Got it.
And I had to find some stuff to wrap it up with, and it's all wrapped up in the box sitting upstairs next to all my other stuff. And I'm going, well, do I ship it to him, or do we do a live video when he gets here and he can open it up here?
I think you should ship it to him and make him do it live.
Well, we can do it live here too.
That's what I was going to say.
I mean, it's right. Either way, it doesn't matter.
That would make a phenomenal Monday night session.
Yeah. Whichever one you guys want to do. Let me know.
My last question is this: what are your guys' thoughts on? Because I saw that the one gun that you posted had that neat scroll work, and I like that kind of stuff. I like the. Is that dangerous for a gun to be, carving into the receiver and everything, or into the barrel even?
No.
Again, I'm just honestly, I don't know. So.
Are you talking about?
I would say if you're rebluing it,
talking about that scroll work.
Yeah. I'm saying if you're rebluing it, sanding it down, grinding it down, and then you're trying to engrave it, it would depend how thin your metal is. But in most cases, I'm saying no.
I mean,
that's what
all
I'm saying.
these old guns. First off, you have to understand the way pressures work, right? So, like, this gun is inertia driven. Pressures work in a straight line out of spring out the back of this bad boy, right? Everything runs from here and forward, right? So if you're putting some scroll work on the side of this thing, unless you really thin the hell out of that metal, and I'm talking take it down to less than a dime width, you're not going to have any problems with it. Like, you could I could go through and hand engrave everything I wanted to on this gun. I could put fancy stuff over here and put it on top. Even though I've gone and wire wheeled and cleaned this all up and everything, I like to keep all this stuff very original. Yep. So, like, that's got that original duck on there flying in. It looks like a Chinese kid made it, but it's cool as heck. And nothing against Chinese children. I just seen some weird stuff on the menus at my buffet lately.
Gone hunting has to get made.
Yeah. Oh man, I didn't say that. They got the pheasant and
like my pap would, like he was one that would buy lots of guns too, and he had ones like Teddy Roosevelt coin in the stock kind of those editions, and I was wondering if they were like okay with the scroll work on for shooting. Because
Yeah. I mean, I've got some real pretty high class guns, and I've got some real ugly trench shooters, and both of them run just as good. You know, I have a few guns that I won't take out in the field, not
Right.
because I'm worried about them. I just don't want to damage them. Like I just don't want. They're just too nice. Like if we were going on a beautiful day, upland game pheasant hunt on a preserve, where I knew like I wouldn't even trip and fall in the weeds because it's
not
groomed
bow
like a
bores.
golf course. Yeah. Then I bust out those guns and go shoot. Or if it's a beautiful day of clay shooting, I'll bust out those guns and shoot. They're not gonna get run through the swamps with me, that's for certain. Because I know how hard I am on guns.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much my bluing process. And then after that, it's just keep them oiled, put them back together, reassemble, make sure everything moves. I oil every part as I put it back together too, just to make sure everything's good. Any screws that I think that'll walk, or any pins that I think will walk that don't need to be oiled, I will Loctite them. Like the mid-grade Loctite, like my hammer pins on the trigger, I Loctite those. Because that thing hasn't been apart since the day it was made 100 and some odd years ago. Because nobody's restored this thing up until now. So when I knock it out of there, it's going to have a little bit of friction that she's had for 100 and some years. So now I'm going to knock it out. I want to at least kind of fill that back up with a little bit of Loctite or something when I drive the pin back in.
Wow. That sounds. Where did I hear that before? Oh, when Ben goes out dating.
Loctite?
Well, pull the pin out of the 108-year-old, and then you gotta. That's. I did it because you're muted, bud. I did it because you're muted.
That's so funny.
All right, hold
There
on.
you go.
If she has hunting land, does that really matter? Is age
No,
really
it
age
don't
is
matter.
just a number?
Hey,
I'll tell you what, though.
Acres.
I'll tell you what, though. My ex had hunting land, and it didn't make it any better. I just got to kill a couple big deer off of it. That's all there was to
That's
it.
what I'm saying, though. If she's, I don't care. Listen, I don't care if she's 100 or 22.
My ex wasn't 100.
Yep.
I don't care, dude. She's got
land,
good hunting land. Listen, if she
That's
got good
right.
hunting land, it don't matter, man.
But she won't remember you anyway at that age.
Mama needs loving too. You know what I mean?
That's right.
I don't know, man. The public land up here is pretty good. You ain't got to deal with that old stuff and writing
not
wills
here.
and all that, you know.
It is horrible here.
So,
well, it's not that the land isn't good around here. It's that the people are. We have Amish that just run everything off from most of.
Oh my good
well,
lord!
that's part of it, man. They're coming up here too, but they don't bring their horses to the mountains. They only ride on flat land. Like they don't want to be in the mountains. So wherever the Amish are around here, it's flat settlements.
Oh, they do here. They take the whole mountainside, both sides at once.
There ain't even no mountains in Pennsylvania. Come on now. There's only a couple.
But we hit our hour and 10, actually. Hour and 8. I don't know. I had fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I
think it was a good subject. I think that
if
somebody needs to learn anything on bluing. The good news is they can contact Brandon or us, and we'll send them to Brandon, and Brandon can give some tips and some things to.
I want to add one thing that we kind of got away from for a second.
Sorry.
Was you asked about it being like a side hustle or a business or whatever. I do think there is a business aspect to this. I think if somebody is willing to be able to put up with people who want it and want it yesterday and do this stuff, there's actually a couple guys on TV that have a couple restoration businesses. One of the guys is in Montana and he's very good. But I want to strongly encourage people to explore their firearms a little bit more. And get comfortable with your firearms, get comfortable with knowing the ins and outs of your firearms. And if your family, like if you're a kid, 16, 14, 16, whatever, just got your first shotgun, you probably got a pretty modern shotgun, so it's pretty easy to take apart. go to somebody who's very good at taking them apart. Somebody such as myself, somebody who shoots shotguns a lot. Waterfowlers are your best because we beat them and we will fill them full of mud. We will paddle them. We use them as paddles up the. So we field strip our guns a lot. We pull trigger groups a lot. We pull the bolts out of them a lot. We change springs a lot. We just tear them apart a lot, more than most. So get comfortable with your firearm, and then from there, then you know what you got. If anything ever breaks, because new guns break. I had a new gun break during turkey season. The spring broke inside the hammer, and away we went, and it didn't fire. So I encourage people to start being a little more curious about their firearms. Obviously, practice doing this safely without it loaded, because I've heard horror stories of
way to ruin my day.
Well, I mean, Ben, you do what you got to do. I heard there was a little
like a challenge
Russian in there, a Russian roulette going down at Ben's house. Yeah, practice it safely, do everything safely, and if you don't have somebody to help you or you're not confident enough to do it, the beauty of YouTube is you can get on and watch YouTube videos these days. But just go do it. Find somebody. Start pulling things apart, asking questions why, what makes what work, how it works, and go from there.
I agree with you, Brandon. There's a crap ton of videos out there to help people right now. If you're trying to learn this or you're trying to do anything with your firearm most days, there's a YouTube video telling you how to take it apart.
Yeah, and there's guns out there that we know have notorious trouble. Like we'll just say the Model 742 in 30-06 with the headspace issues and the jamming. There's got to be 150 videos on here about how to fix those things.
I was going to say they probably have them like tailored even to that specific.
Absolutely, you can punch in exactly what you have, and they will come up. I mean, the older they get, the harder it kind of gets to find them. Like this, there's not a ton of videos on completely pulling apart and disassembling the Model 11 or the Remington A5. And then you go back even further. I have a 128-year-old Model 30A 16-gauge pump. There are no videos on that, but that style stayed right up and through to the 40s. So the early 40s is when they changed it from the hump back to the slick back. And that gun is the same from 18 something right up through to the 40s. So if you can find a video on one from the 40s, you can just basically carbon copy it. The only thing that's different is the safety, and that's not rocket science to figure out. So, but yeah, I strongly encourage people to become a little more curious with their firearms.
Now, my thing at the beginning, when I said I'd have a question for everybody.
Yeah.
I've been working. It's a side note thing, so that's why I wanted to wait till after we did everything. But I've been working on this for about 2 years. Writing scripts and everything else. I want to do live action Slaughterville stuff, and I was wondering if anybody'd want to be in, or if I needed a place to shoot. If anybody'd be willing to volunteer just to let me shoot on land in like an old barn or something if we needed.
Yeah, we can, dude. If you're up here, we can find stuff too.
I figured we could get you in the Sasquatch suit running out the back.
100%, dude. I will red-eyed Sasquatch in the dark any day of the week.
Dude, I there's old barns around people let you use. I mean, I wouldn't worry too much about that. As for what do you need exactly?
See, that's just it. I plan on starting it off with the werewolf episode. So we're going to be doing a lot in the woods because honestly, that's cheaper. We can take it to the state game lands and go there. But if we need like an old house or a like a cabin in the woods kind of a thing, I know there's that old cabin on in Sudburg if you go back the Game Lands Road.
So you're trying to make an actual like movie?
Oh,
beautiful. Yeah. Yes, live action series. Yes.
Oh, I'm in.
I've been wanting this for years, and I would love to help. Oh, you're going to be Bubba. Shut the fork up. You've already got that. You're in the comic. You're coming up, but you're coming up.
I ain't seen my comic page yet. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm waiting to see this drawing.
I am definitely in, guys, but I gotta hop off of here. I gotta hop off of here for the night. God bless.
Thanks,
And
man.
I'll chat with you guys later.
I appreciate
See you, buddy.
doing it.
Thanks for coming on. We appreciate
Absolutely. Have a great night.
you. You too.
See you.
Yeah, I'm in.
Yeah,
You know me. I'm always in. So
All right, cool.
let's we'll talk more about that off camera. Mike, now you
Yeah.
won the salmon flies. Anybody that watched and came on, we super appreciate you. Next week we'll get a subject posted out on what our plans are for next week. Always looking for special guests. If you got a story that you want to tell, hunting, fishing, outdoor camping, a bear raided your cat, whatever. If you got a story you want to share, we want you on here. So get a hold of us.
All right. That's a good way to end it.
Yes.
See you, bud.
God bless, guys.